Hey guys, Defcamp here. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Welcome to another episode of Intermission with Defcamp. And today we're going to be talking about graphics. More precisely, what would it mean if Blizzard were to update the graphics for Classic WoW? So one of the most common comments I see in relation to changes for Classic is people asking for updated graphics and or updated character models. A lot of times I see a comment something like this: "Hey guys, I'm no changes, but one thing I think Blizzard ought to do is update the graphics for Classic and the character models. Maybe they could add some kind of toggle so that people could have it either way." First off, I disagree. However, one thing I do agree with is I do believe that the graphics in Classic are not what you would call up to the current standards for games today, but I do not believe that they are in any way bad either. Sometimes I think a lot of people are remembering what vanilla looked like back in the day on those old computers and those very old monitors. Or maybe you watched a video that's over 10 or 12 years old and you're probably thinking to yourself, how the hell can anyone want to play with graphics like that? But the truth is that with current technology, the graphics from vanilla are really not that bad, and in my opinion they've held up pretty well over the years. In fact, I would argue that playing on a vanilla private server today with a modern computer looks great. It even keeps up pretty well with what retail WoW has to offer in those same zones. I feel like there's something about the ambiance in vanilla. It sets the mood. It's much darker and deeper than current WoW, and even has a touch of realism to it. Many people, including myself, are not the biggest fans of how the graphics in retail have changed over the years. I feel like they've become much more cartoony, which has probably added to the lack of realism. Now, they don't give me the same feeling that I used to get from the earlier game. Those earlier graphics were a big part of my immersion within the game. Things like weather effects, which are no longer a part of retail, made it much easier for me to feel connected to the environment which I was playing in. I don't understand why Blizzard went away with the weather effects. I've heard rumors like players complaining about not being able to see as far and it interfered with PvP, that kind of thing. If it's true, I think that's sad because it truly added to the role-playing sense of the game and it helped me feel more immersed. Anyway guys, here are some comparisons between retail and vanilla WoW private server. Let's start with comparing the same zones. Now, many of the zones were done over in the Cataclysm expansion, and many of the areas are different from how they were before the Sundering. So if you see something like a building being there, or some people being there, that's why. Now, I don't think it would be very fair to try and compare one of the new zones from Legion to an old zone in Azeroth, because we're only going to be dealing with the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor in Classic. So it would be fair to show what retail has to offer in those zones. But for the sake of argument, because I know someone out there is going to complain about it, we will compare one zone from Legion to one zone from a vanilla private server. Now, in both instances, my settings are maxed out. Everything's to 10. Now, in no way am I trying to say that the graphics in vanilla WoW are in any way higher quality or sharper than retail. Of course not. I can see quite clearly that retail is much more textured, it is very high quality, and it is beautiful in its own way. But better? No, I would have to disagree, at least when it comes to Classic. The word better is relative to the person, and in my opinion, I like the old graphics better for vanilla because that was my experience. Now, I completely understand that it would be great to have better graphics as well as some quality of life changes in Classic. Some of you guys are probably scratching your head and thinking that Defcamp's lost it, but just give me one sec. I completely understand that it would be great to be able to use meeting stones to summon people. It would be great to have guild banks. It would be very useful to be able to dual spec, and it would be very nice to see Classic WoW in a fresh coat of paint. But the problem is, once you start doing these things, you would no longer be playing Classic WoW. In order to retain a true vanilla experience, in my opinion, you cannot add anything to it that was added in later expansions. The only things we should be talking about is regarding changes that happened inside the vanilla timeline. Okay, let's talk about the importance of keeping vanilla vanilla. To many people, including myself, vanilla WoW and WoW in general is much more than just a game. It's an experience. If you caught one of Melderon's recent vlogs titled Why I'm No Changes, if not, I'll post a link in the description for you, he draws parallels between classic WoW and art. And now sometimes in art, a group of people can look at a painting or a sculpture or whatever and see something hideous or just not get it. But another group of people can look at that same painting and see something beautiful. It may even be the most beautiful thing they've ever seen. Either way you see it, it doesn't change the fact that for many people, classic WoW was more than just a game. It was an experience. And such a profound experience, in fact, that for me, it taught me many life lessons, including helping me become a more patient person, and also to tolerate people that would otherwise piss me off. That last one I'm still working on, as you can probably tell if you read some of the comments from a recent video. Some people are just, they have nothing better to do than critique every word that comes out of my mouth. But hey, if that makes their sad, insignificant life a little bit brighter and just a little bit better for one moment, then I'm glad I could be of service to you. Shouts out. Anyway, I wholeheartedly believe that if they were to go and change the graphics for classic WoW, it would have dire implications for everyone, and it would tarnish the experience, not just for those who have played vanilla before, but for those who never did. They would not get the true vanilla experience that they deserve. Now, of course, my experience won't be the same as the first time I played. I've seen a lot of what there is to see, not everything, but I've been down that road once before. I like to draw the comparison to, say, reading a book. The first time you read a really good book, it's very special. You encounter each moment for the first time, and you have no idea what's going to be on the next page. It's very exciting. But the second time you read it, it's the same experience, yet different. You pick up on things that you didn't see the first time around. You don't have that same excitement as the first time because you know what's going to be over the next page, but you have a deeper connection and a deeper understanding of the story. And each time you read the book, that understanding and that connection becomes more profound. Now, say someone were to go back and change the story, even just a little bit. I think a good comparison to changing the graphics would be, say, changing the setting in which the story takes place. At first, it might not seem like there are many implications, but as you read on, as the story goes on, you start to see that it is no way the same story without it. I think a lot about a great book in which I love, which is The Hobbit. I've read that book probably dozens of times, and I was very excited when the movie was announced to come out. But in the movie, they made changes to the story, and it did not feel in any way, shape, or form like the book that I read. That experience was changed, but at least for me, I had the book to go back to. But imagine if they changed the book as well to the way the movie was, and you weren't able to ever read the book again the way it was before. How would that make you feel? In current WoW, the story went on, and the only way you're able to go back to play vanilla right now is through private servers, which is kind of like a pretty good tribute band. They do a pretty good job, but it's not really Led Zeppelin. And now we have a chance for actual vanilla to come back. Wouldn't you want the real thing over a cover? And this brings me back to the graphics. Yes, many people argue that the graphics is only a small part, and the actual gameplay is not being affected, but I would have to disagree. The graphics to me is a huge part of the game. The graphics in vanilla may not have been the prettiest, but they created the setting in which I became so immersed into. It set the mood, the ambience, and to change that would, to me, be just as big of a change as turning 40-man raids into 20-mans, or putting achievements into the game. Think of it like this. Just because a movie from the 1940s like Citizen Kane was in black and white does not make it a bad movie in today's standards. In fact, many people still argue that it was one of the best movies ever made. Just like today, many people argue that Vanilla WoW was the best MMO and even the best game ever made. Why then? Why would you want to change it? If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Join us on Discord and Twitter. And guys, our community continues to grow. We're pushing our way to 1,000 subs. Thanks to you guys. We love you. Stay tuned for more. And as always, keep on grinding and keep on it, baby. Oh yeah.